Hello YouTube! Today on the Naughty Librarian, I am going over my end of July wrap-up. I have been reading some really cool stuff at the end of the July. I completed my TBR list and went completely rogue, and I read a lot of other stuff that's completely non sequitur. But we'll get into that. Let's get into what I read the second half of July. First category is historical romance, and I read 2 of them. I read The Secrets of Sir Richard Kenworthy by Julia Quinn, and this is kind of the end of the Smythe-Smith quartet, so I just wanted to finish it off. And after reading it, I have realized this is a incredibly polarizing book. People either love it or hate it. I think I'm the one person who says kind of like, I'm okay with it. Like, does it have problematic elements? Yeah, but I don't know, if you're gonna have a problematic element, it's like the most altruistic reasons for having it be problematic. Does that make sense? The whole gist here is that we're following, Richard Kenworthy, as the cover suggests, and he needs to get a wife stat to save his family for reasons that I won't go into because it's a spoiler, although it's kind of obvious, but whatever. And so he sees Iris Smythe-Smith in the musicale. Mind you, this musicale, none of these Smythe-Smith girls can play worth a damn. They're just terrible. And he sees her and he's just like, I'm feeling Iris. So they start this courtship, and essentially he traps her into marrying him because he ruins her. They don't have sex, but he stages it that they're caught kissing, and so they have to get married. So he literally traps her into this marriage. I mean, she kind of liked him anyway, but dude, not cool. And then he spends so much of the book thinking he's a piece of shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, you kind of are. I'm glad that you're self-aware enough to realize you did a fucked up thing, and you're guilty about it, and you're like, oh no, I've done this horrible thing and I can't tell her the truth, but I should. And he's just filled with doubt. And honestly, since he's so conflicted about it, and he knows he's in the wrong, he did something bad, he's like, I can't have sex with her too, because that's just ruining her life. So if you like a slow burn, oh boy, this is a slow burn. They spend this whole book not doing it, but I do appreciate the fact that he feels so guilty about what he did, and he knows what he did was wrong, that he doesn't want to confound it by also taking advantage of her under false pretenses. So that's what I was getting at earlier, where I'm like, is this problematic? Yes, but is it somewhat altruistic in its problematic contentness? Yeah, I mean, it's handling the situation in the best way possible, I feel. I don't know, I kind of ended up liking it in the end. I didn't love it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's fine. It's problematic, but in the end, Iris is okay with it. So I'm just all right, well, she's okay with it, then cool. Okay, so before we go any further, I'm just gonna put my hair up real quick because it is so hot outside today, and I'm indoors, there's air conditioning, but it's also getting hot. So we're gonna work our way through this, guys. We're in it together now, okay? The other historical romance I read was Captives of the Night by Loretta Chase, and this one was really a disappointment. I gave it 2.5 stars in the end, rounded up to 3, because it's fine, I guess, but unfortunate. This is the prequel to Lord of Scoundrels, which I read and adored. I thought it was great. So I was like, ooh, what else is in this series? What's going on here? And so I picked this one up, and it is a chore to read at times, I will admit. And we're following this woman, I forget even her name, Layla. Her name's Layla. She's married to this guy, Beaumont, who is just a fucking jerk. He's awful. He womanizes all over town, and he does drugs all the time. He's not a great guy. Although, he has some characteristics that aren't so bad, and so why should she stay with him? It's as much as he whores around town and does drugs and just complete reprobate, he's not a rapist. He never forces her into bed with him. He never strikes her. So like he doesn't beat women or rape them. So I mean, he's a complete asshole, but like he has some morals. So like, I don't know, he's a bit complex, I guess. We're following Layla, and she's married to this guy Beaumont who's a reprobate. And she stays with him for those reasons, and also she's an artist, and he's like strangely supportive of her art. I don't know, it's like a really messed up marriage. And then Beaumont drops dead, and it's probably murder. So everyone's like, oh, what if Layla did it? We all know they don't get along. And she's like, but I like didn't do it. So she has to like prove her innocence. Enter the Comte Esmond, and he's like a secret agent. Also, full court press flirting with Layla for so long. So husband's dead, Comte Esmond is moving on in, being a secret agent, trying to figure out who killed this guy, and also flirting with Layla. And there's so many like layers of deceptions here that don't really go anywhere. And then it's so slow burn, like, oh my word, they take forever to get together, like forever. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this book is boring and you're not even doing it. Like, why am I here? So overall, I was like fairly unimpressed with it. Like, it had its moments where like it was kind of interesting, but it's not great. I don't recommend it really. Next category is alien porn, and I read 4 of them. So, like I mentioned earlier, I kind of went rogue for my TBR, and I just like marathoned alien porn. So I read so many books from the Ice Planet Barbarian series because why not? You know, they're campily delightful. Let's start off here. I have Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon. This is book 3 of the series. This one is Kira and Ehako, and we've heard about them before. And Kira, this is probably the better one. The first 2 books, well, the book 1, you're just like, what the fuck did I read? Book 2, you're like, I can't believe I just read that. And then you get here and you're like, okay, like I can see why I'm reading this. Kira, basically, she's barren. She had a disease when she was a kid and it made her barren, so she can't like resonate. It's this thing with the aliens. They have this thing in their chest and it resonates to another person's thing, and it means you gotta go to Bone Town. Like I said, it's stupid, but go with it here. And it's kind of like an interesting concept where she feels like, you know, she can't have children, so she doesn't have anything to offer, and she has to like get through her issues. And then you have Ehako, who's like very nice, and he's just like, I choose you anyway. It's a big, you know, romantic thing. And, you know, eventually it turns out she can. Like, the thing in her chest fixes that problem, which isn't the best message because, you know, that women not being able to have children doesn't really make them broken, I would say. And it kind of puts out that message a bit, but, you know, I like the characters in this one, honestly. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna continue on the alien porn path. And then I got here, which is Barbarian Mine by Ruby Dixon. And if you all ever wanted a Tarzan and Jane romance, but with big blue alien dicks, like, this is the book for you. Personally, I find it a bit problematic. So this one is Rook and Harlow, and he literally clubs her over the head and brings her back to her cave because he has grown up feral. He's grown up in the wild. He hasn't been around any other people. So he doesn't really have like language skills. He doesn't understand what's happening. All he knows is like the resonance thing happened, and then like he got spooked and he hit her on the head, and he's like, oh no. So now he's with this girl. He doesn't know words. So she's trying to teach him words in a very Tarzan Jane. But the problematic content here is that he's grown up completely feral, so he doesn't know what sex is. He has no idea what that is. He knows like parts. He doesn't even know you put it inside. And then like eventually he figures it out and he's like, oh, why haven't I been putting it inside this whole time? Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. But getting to that point, I don't know if he was capable of really giving informed consent because he had no idea what sex was. Nothing. So like, I don't know. Obviously he's very enthusiastic about it. I don't feel like he was taken advantage of necessarily, but like, it's kind of problematic when you think about it too hard. So I don't know. I also read Barbarian's Prize, and this is Tiffany and some guy. I can't remember his name right now. Oh well. But yeah, so Tiffany and her alien guy. And when these women got to the ice planet, they were basically abducted by these other aliens who were very bad. There was a lot of assault going on, and Tiffany was assaulted, so she's also trying to, you know, reclaim her bodily autonomy. And so she has a lot of things she needs to work through, and then she has this guy who's like genuinely like, we can take it slow, it's fine, and just kind of very patient and like helps her kind of come back to her own body and, you know, have some control over it. So this one was actually, it hit a little different. It was like kind of a heavy hitter, and it was like sensitively like talked about. I think it had some like, I don't know, it had value here that I felt like the other books weren't trying to have. So it was kind of great. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And then you have Barbarian's Mate, which had been like hinted at for so long. It's gonna be an enemies to lovers. These characters have been enemies to lovers for so long. This is Josie and Hayden. And Josie is very much just like, I'm not gonna let the past get me down. I wanna be in the future and look, and she's just very optimistic about things, and she's had a rough life too. But she's like, okay, I've had my day to cry about it, I'm moving on. She's got a can-do attitude, and I like her. And then you have Hayden, who's literally, he's the Oscar the Grouch of the aliens. I don't know. I don't think they have garbage cans, but he's just Oscar the Grouch. And their personalities clash a lot, but you know, they have reasons for that. And eventually they work their differences out and they get together. So yeah, I read so much alien porn this month. So much. All of the books are pretty short. They're kind of longer novella length, so they're kind of just get to the point. There's no filler chapters. It's just like boom, 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 boom. So it's all the main plot of the book with no filler and just lots of sex. So, I mean, you know, if you just want that, these are the books for you. On that note, the next category is regular old sci-fi, and I read one of them. I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I was so excited to read this. Andy Weir wrote The Martian, which is fantastic. He also wrote this book called Artemis, which I feel is underrated because I actually really enjoyed it. And now we're at Project Hail Mary. And we're following this guy named Ryland, although he wakes up on a spaceship and he sees two dead bodies next to him, and he has no idea what his name is, where he is, what's happening, who, what, and how. Complete amnesia. He's got to figure things out very quickly. He's on a spaceship far away from Earth, and he knows he's there to save the world, but like how? So through the story, we're getting like memory flashbacks of like why he's here, what happened to get him here. And he is. He's there to save the Earth from, you know, things that the sun is dying and he needs to figure out how to save it. I'm trying not to give any spoilers here. But, you know, it's got like all of that Andy Weir charm that you like, the sarcastic hero, the funny kind of like dry gallows humor, but like in space. So it's got like all of those like signature Andy Weir things, and I enjoyed that. However, I feel like this book really gets bogged down by astrophysics. There's so much of it in this book, and like, yeah, he's in space, he's a scientist in space doing science shit. Like, I get it, but like so much of the book is just science lessons and like math and like equations for things and like how you do this scientifically. But I'm like, maybe we should like hang out with the character instead of just getting science lessons. I don't know. So this one was just, it's a little bogged down by astrophysics, which is, it's just a weird sentence to say in general, but it's fun. It's sarcastic heroes. It's like a jaunty space romp. It's got a lot of things I really like about it, but like too much science, I don't know. It feels weird to say, but it's just too heavy on astrophysics. Last category is fantasy, and I read two of them. I read The Sisters Grimm by Mina van Praag, and you know what? I kind of really liked it. I gave it 4 stars in the end. I don't think this book is necessarily for everyone, though, because it is a bit disjointed in its storytelling. It kind of goes back and forth in time and between 4 different POVs, so it's kind of like very choppy at times. And it takes a while to really get going anywhere. For a lot of time, it's just like things are just happening, but like why? So that's the problems with it. However, the writing itself is really good. Like, I really like the way that it's written. It has like, I don't know, I'll say this one line in it. At one point, this character refers to her chest to being a cathedral of screams. And I was like, oh, cathedral of screams? Like, that is a great way to describe something. So I think the author does have like talent for like how they told the story. It's got good writing in it, a lot of like cool elements, but like it is super choppy. So let's just get that out of the way going in. The idea here is that there's these 4 sisters, and they're the Sisters Grimm. They all have the same father, who is a magical demon who lives in this like alternate reality world. And eventually, like I think on their 18th birthday, they enter back into this like magical world where their father is. There's like soldiers there trying to kill them, and then at the end they either have to declare themselves as like going dark and hanging out with their dad, who's like demon guy, or they're gonna be light, and then the dad probably kills them. So like there's like a lot of things going on here, and I wish they spent more time going into like the lore and the magic here than they did. So again, that's what I'm going back to saying. It's very disjointed and choppy. But I really like all the characters. There's 4 very distinct sisters. They're very different people. Like I never got one sister confused with the other sister. They're all very different. And a lot of their stories are very interesting and like super cool. It happens modern day. They're all in like Cambridge in England, and they all have very different circumstances in like what's going on in their life. And so like a lot of it's really, really cool. And I like the magic system, and I like some of the writing in here, but like it's kind of also a mess like structurally. So yeah, it's a weird book that like, I don't know, it feels like it has a lot of problems, but like I liked it anyway. There you go, 4 stars. I had a really fun time with it. Last book is Year One by Nora Roberts. There is already a full discussion video on this over on Mara's channel. I'll put a link to it. This was July's book of the month for the Blazing Bodies Rippers book club, so we all read it. We already discussed it. I'll give you the gist real quick. I gave it 2 stars in the end. Originally I gave it 3 stars, but then the more I dwelled on things, the more they bothered me. So I ended up going down to 2 stars. I was on a journey here. Nothing makes sense. Nothing at all. And it hits really different now because this is about a plague, like a pandemic plague. And like after 2020, the story feels different. This came out in 2017, I believe, so very much pre-pandemic. But like some things in here are very spot on. So you're like, ooh. Oh my. But essentially there's like a magically based plague, and it sweeps the world. Like billions of people are dead. Like 2/3 of the world's population dead. So like it's worse than COVID. We can say that at least. But oh my, it's just like destruction and like horrible stuff. And then like it also kind of just beats you over the head with this message of like hope is good, and it's like, yeah, fucking duh. Like it's just like every sentence is beating it into my head, and it's just like, we get it, you can stop preaching. Like I'm done with the preaching, and it just won't end. And then there's a lot of characters, multiple POVs, too many POVs. A lot of them just go nowhere. And I'm like, why were they included at all? And then I'm just gonna keep going on into a full rant here. But like the magic system doesn't even really make sense, because apparently after this magical plague, there's a lot of people who like have developed magical abilities, or they've become fairies or elves somehow. Like, how do you just become a fairy or an elf? There had to be fairies and elves that existed in the world for real in order for them to exist now, because they have fairy blood or elf blood. Like, where do they get the blood from? Or like witches, like there's these witches now who are super powerful, but there were also witches who were doing magic shit before the plague happened. So like, how does this world work? Was there already magic in it or not? Like, I'm very confused about a lot of things here. But yeah, so magic plague is what it's about, and then like nothing makes sense. So like don't go into it planning for sense to be made, and maybe it'll be fun. I don't know. All right, so that concludes the end of July. I read 9 books overall. That's a lot of books. Although like 4 of them were like short alien porn, but whatever, it counts. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know, what have you been reading lately? Like, any surprises, hits or misses? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye!